Chargers, Texans. Chargers on the road, games in Houston. The over-under is only 42.5, and the Chargers are a 3-point favorite on the road. Dylan, where are we going here?
No matter, even when we're doing the NFL show, we can't escape the Ohio State-Michigan headlines.
Oh, boy.
CJ Stroud can't beat Jim Harbaugh, hasn't beat Jim Harbaugh in his life. I don't know why we think that's going to change this weekend on Saturday. Both teams have played hilariously easy schedules. I think PFF had it like 25th and 27th. Neither offense has been great. Two kind of average teams. The Texans offense has taken such a step back from last year, specifically CJ Stroud. And I understand, like, the rush game has been kind of poor since the first half of the year. They're 24th in rush EPA in weeks 10 through 16. They have a negative EPA per dropback those last 6 weeks. And I'll skip that point. I'll get to that point later. But the Chargers they're not world beaters either. I think Herbert's a better quarterback. The defense has taken a step back since the beginning of the year. We were talking about this elite Chargers defense in the first half of the year, and they kind of regressed a little bit. I would go Chargers. I think the Texans are a team, we've talked about it all year. This is a team, we see them playing the regular season, and we're like, I cannot wait to bet against this team in the playoffs. They're going to host a playoff game. They're going to win the division, and they're just not that good of a team. So I go Chargers. Chargers and under, probably.
Under?
Yeah. I think
go
so,
under.
too. I think so, too.
Over.
Over?
Over.
I'd wait till kickoff. That number probably keeps going down, to be honest.
If it keeps going down, I'm going to wait till kickoff, but I think that number keeps going down. I'm going to get the best number on it, but kind of like the over. But Connor, I feel like we're going to end up with the game day graphic here.
Yeah, I'm aligned with Dylan here. I love the Chargers in this spot. Postseason home dog, like, I get it. It's a little weird, but the Chargers are 7-2 against the spread on the road this year. They're indoors, and when is the last time the Texans have had a good win? Week 5 against Buffalo, when Sean McDermott gift-wrapped in that game. That was a win. I'm not going to take away the win, but it was not convincing. There was a lot of other factors. Yeah, and my whole thing all year is when's the last time the Texans played 2 halves of good, convincing football in a row? It takes a while to find that. And they have losses to the Chiefs, Ravens, Vikings, Packers, Detroit. They can't beat good teams, especially lately. And I do think the Chargers are a good team. The Texans rank 21st in EPA per play, 31st in success rate per snap, worst among playoff teams by far. Texans don't have more than 23 points since November. Look, I know the Chargers are more of a ground and pound, control, dictate the pace kind of team. I think that's what's going to work this week. So I like the Chargers with the -3. I think that's fine. Stroud has taken a step back this year. I think long-term he'll be fine, but this year I just don't know if that Texans offense has enough. So I like the Chargers here, even on the road.
Ben, going to finish off the game day graphic?
Yeah, I'm going with the game day graphic here. I like the Chargers and the points. I also am siding on the under. I do think this is a Texans team that the past game, although CJ Stroud had an amazing rookie season, you look at it like the Ravens, right? The way they're most susceptible is through the air on defense. The Texans didn't score any offensive points. It was just a safety. They lost 31-2. They're just not going to be able to put up enough points. The Chargers defense, although it's regressed, it still has allowed a season low points amongst the NFL. So it's still a solid defense. You have J.K. Dobbins back for the Chargers as well, which I think has made a difference and sort of allowed them to kind of revive. Quentin Johnson had a great game on Sunday as well. I just think it's just hard to not like the Chargers here. I like them by probably 10 points.
10 points?
Yeah. No, I'll say they win by like 10. I mean, maybe it's like a touchdown at the end by J.K. Dobbins with like a minute left to kind of seal it, but I just don't. I think they're able to score some points because I do like Justin Herbert. I do like their run game. I like their coaching. But it's just going to be about what the Texans can't do more so than it is about what the Chargers can't do here.
Connor, you mentioned a point I think is interesting too with C.J. Stroud's sophomore slump. I don't think this is a long-term thing, but he has not been great this year. He's been pretty mediocre, honestly, this season. And, Diggs goes down, Tank Dell goes down. It's more so that this offensive line is not great, and he's constantly throwing under pressure. And then in this game, if Joe Mixon can't get going on the ground, what have we talked about all year with the Texans? If they become one-dimensional and it becomes C.J. Stroud having to throw 40 times, that's a bad sign. I think that's what happens in this game too. I've alluded to it multiple times. I'm going Chargers as well. I still like the over. I think we're going to see C.J. Stroud throw the ball like crazy. I think Chargers win pretty comfortably here, to be honest. And you're taking the better coach and the better quarterback in this game. And usually that pays off in the playoffs. And you could also argue the better defense as well. And honestly, what advantage do the Texans have in this game? Running back?
Yeah, maybe. And the thing with CJ Stroud is, you touched on it, Karter. I think because they overachieved so much last year, and that team was so much better than anybody thought in their first year together, now if they lose in this first round game, all of a sudden the season's a disappointment. Whereas if you look at it in a normal trajectory, if you're making the playoffs, if you're hosting a playoff game in your second year as a starting quarterback, second year in the league, that's usually a positive. But because they were so good last year, I think the season would be viewed as a failure, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. And also because it's not like they really, I don't want to say they didn't earn their way into the playoffs, but it's like they didn't really have to do anything to win that division.
That division was awful.
Which I think that's a factor, right? Like if there was like a hard fought, like they won 10 or 11 games and then lost the first round, like that stinks, but at least you can be like, another solid competitive season, especially in CJ Stroud and D'Amico Ryan's second year. I don't think you can say that when the division's as weak as it was. And if they're in pretty much any other division in the NFL, they're not making the playoffs. So
they probably make. Do they make it in the South? Maybe not.
I don't know. That price on the CJ Stroud conversation is looking a little different nowadays, Karter.
Yeah, no. Well, next year the NFC South is going to be running through Charlotte, North Carolina. So, but this is an NFL playoffs show. We'll talk about the Panthers next year during the playoffs.
I hate that. I agree. I
want to push back a little bit on the comment that you made, Karter, about possibly the Texans' run game being better. Joe Mixon has been almost a non-factor in these games in the last half of the season. So it is amazing the fall off. And Jim Harbaugh with an all-time – sorry to cut you off real quick. Jim Harbaugh with an all-time troll job signing Ezekiel Elliott right before the play. I mean, come on. Just a little reminder. Funny. Just a little reminder.
But the other thing is Michigan man, leading this guy to a Super Bowl. But I think Mixon's
and he's going to have Hassan Haskins score a touchdown over him. That's the thing. Hassan Haskins getting put in the goal line over Ezekiel Elliott. I love it. Go ahead.
I think Joe Mixon is still the better back. I just think he's behind a much worse offensive line. And
I think that's fair.
And so, if you put Joe Mixon on this Chargers team, I think he does way better than J.K. Dobbins, in my opinion. And that's the only advantage I think the Texans have. And I don't even think it's an advantage because the running back is so reliant on the offensive line, it doesn't even matter. So, and there's a reason the Houston Texans are plus 10,000 to win the Super Bowl and the Chargers are plus 2,600. There's that big of a difference between these two teams. And I think you're getting a discount at 3, to be honest. I think it's just because it's a road game. That's why the spread's so low.